Chapter 4, Part 1 of the Legends of the Jews, Volume 1. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by M.L. Cohen, Cleveland, Ohio, July 2007. The Legends of the Jews, Volume 1 by Rabbi Louis Ginsburg. The Birth of Noah. Methuselah took a wife for his son Lamech, and she bore him a man-child. The body of the babe was white as snow and red as a blooming rose, and the hair of his head and his long locks were white as wool, and his eyes like the rays of the sun. When he opened his eyes, he lighted up the whole house like the sun, and the whole house was very full of light. And when he was taken from the hand of the midwife, he opened his mouth and praised the Lord of righteousness. His father Lamech was afraid of him and fled, and came to his own father Methuselah, and he said to him, I have begotten a strange son. He is not like a human being, but resembles the children of the angels of heaven, and his nature is different, and he is not like us, and his eyes are as the rays of the sun, and his countenance is glorious. And it seems to me that he is not sprung from me, but from the angels, and I fear that in his days a wonder may be wrought upon the earth. And now, my father, I am here to petition thee and implore thee that thou mayest go to Enoch our father and learn from him the truth, for his dwelling place is among the angels. And when Methuselah heard the words of his son, he went to Enoch to the ends of the earth and cried aloud. And Enoch heard his voice and appeared before him and asked him the reason of his coming. Methuselah told him the cause of his anxiety and requested him to make the truth known to him. Enoch answered and said, The Lord will do a new thing in the earth. There will come a great destruction on the earth, and a deluge for 1 year. The son who is born unto thee will be left on the earth, and his 3 children will be saved with him, when all mankind that are on the earth shall die. And there will be a great punishment on the earth, and earth will be cleansed from all impurity. And now make known to thy son Lamech that he who was born is in truth his son, and call his name Noah, for he will be left to you, and he and his children will be saved from the destruction which will come upon the earth. When Methuselah had heard the words of his father, who showed him all the secret things, he returned home, and he called the child Noah, for he would cause the earth to rejoice in compensation for all destruction. By the name Noah he was called only by his grandfather Methuselah. His father and all the others call him Menachem. His generation was addicted to sorcery, and Methuselah apprehended that his grandson might be bewitched if his true name were known, wherefore he kept it a secret. Menachem, comforter, suited him as well as Noah. It indicated that he would be a consoler, if but the evildoers of his time would repent of their misdeeds. At his very birth it was felt that he would bring consolation and deliverance. When the Lord said to Adam, Cursed is the ground for thy sake, he asked, For how long a time? And the answer made by God was, Until a man-child shall be born, whose conformation is such that the rite of circumcision need not be practiced upon him. This was fulfilled through Noah. He was circumcised from his mother's womb. Noah had scarcely come into the world when a marked change was noticeable. Since the curse brought upon the earth by the sin of Adam, it happened that wheat being sown, yet oats would sprout and grow. This ceased with the appearance of Noah. The earth bore the products planted in it. And it was Noah who, when he was grown to manhood, invented the plow, the scythe, the hoes, and other instruments for cultivating the ground. Before him, men had worked the land with their bare hands. There was another token to indicate that the child born unto Lamech was appointed for this extraordinary destiny. When God created Adam, he gave him dominion over all things. The cow obeyed the plowman, and the furrow was willing to be drawn. But after the fall of Adam, all things rebelled against him. The cow refused obedience to its plowman, and also the furrow was refractory. Noah was born, and all returned to its state preceding the fall of man. Before the birth of Noah, the sea was in the habit of transgressing its bounds twice daily, morning and evening, and flooding the land up to the graves. After his birth, it kept within its confines. And the famine that afflicted the world in the time of Lamech, the second of the 10 great famines appointed to come upon it, ceased its ravages with the birth of Noah. The Legend of the Jews, Volume 1 by Rabbi Louis Ginsburg. The Punishment of the Fallen Angels. Grown to manhood, Noah followed in the ways of his grandfather Methuselah, while all other men of the time rose up against this pious king. So far from observing his precepts, they pursued the evil inclination of their hearts and perpetrated all sorts of abominable deeds. Chiefly, the fallen angels and their giant posterity caused the depravity of mankind. The blood spilled by the giants cried unto heaven from the ground, and the 4 archangels accused the fallen angels and their sons before God, whereupon he gave the following orders to them. Uriel was sent to Noah to announce to him that the earth would be destroyed by a flood, and to teach him how to save his own life. Raphael was told to put the fallen angel Azazel into chains, cast him into a pit of sharp and pointed stones in the desert of Duadal, and cover him with darkness, and so he was to remain until the great day of judgment, when he would be thrown into the fiery pit of hell, and the earth would be healed of the corruption he had contrived upon it. Gabriel was charged to proceed against the bastards and the reprobates, the sons of the angels begotten with the daughters of men, and plunge them into deadly conflicts with one another. Shemhazai's ilk were handed over to Michael, who first caused them to witness the death of their children in bloody combat with each other, and then he bound them and pinned them under the hills of the earth, where they will remain for 70 generations, until the day of judgment, to be carried thence to the fiery pit of hell. The fall of Azazel and Shemhazai came about in this way. When the generations of the deluge began to practice idolatry, God was deeply grieved. The 2 angels, Shemhazai and Azazel, arose and said, O Lord of the world, it has happened, that which we foretold at the creation of the world and of man, saying, What is man that thou art mindful of him? And God said, And what will become of the world now without man? Whereupon the angels, We will occupy ourselves with it. Then said God, I am well aware of it, and I know that if you inhabit the earth, the evil inclination will overpower you, and you will be more iniquitous than ever men. The angels pleaded, Grant us but permission to dwell among men, and thou shalt see how we sanctify thy name. God yielded to their wish, saying, Descend and sojourn among men. When the angels came to earth and beheld the daughters of men in all their grace and beauty, they could not restrain their passion. Shemhazai saw a maiden named Ishtar, and he lost his heart to her. She promised to surrender herself to him, if first he taught her the ineffable name, by means of which she raised himself to heaven. He assented to her condition, but when she knew it, she pronounced the name and herself ascended to heaven, without fulfilling her promise to the angel. God said, Because she kept herself aloof from sin, we will place her among the 7 stars, that men may never forget her. And she was put in the constellation of the Pleiades. Shemhazai and Azazel, however, were not deterred from entering into alliances with the daughters of men, and the first 2 sons were born. Azazel began to devise the finery and the ornaments by means of which women allure men. Thereupon God sent Metatron to tell Shemhazai that he had resolved to destroy the world and bring on a deluge. The fallen angel began to weep and grieve over the fate of the world and the fate of his 2 sons. If the world went under, what would they have to eat, they who needed daily 1,000 camels, 1,000 horses, and 1,000 steers? These 2 sons of Shemhazai, Hiwa and Haya by name, dreamed dreams. The one saw a great stone which covered the earth, and the earth was marked all over with lines upon lines of writing. An angel came, and with a knife obliterated all the lines, leaving but 4 letters upon the stone. The other son saw a large pleasure grove planted with all sorts of trees, but angels approached bearing axes, and they felled the trees, sparing a single one with 3 of its branches. When Hiwa and Hiya awoke, they repaired to their father, who interpreted dreams to them by saying, God will bring a deluge, and none will escape with his life excepting only Noah and his sons. When they heard this, the 2 began to cry and scream, but their fathers consoled them. Soft, soft, do not grieve. As often as men cut or haul stones or launch vessels, they shall invoke your names, Hiwa,